welcome to another edition of Stories of the Dark. I am Glen Clark. And in this edition, we're going to be talking about haunted military bases. But first, I want to report that BlakCircleGirl and I, we conducted a EVP session the other night with results, and we did a ghost box session last night and also got some results. We still have to review everything, but it was fairly convincing. The EVP we got was very clear. I'm going to share it on the program at some point, but I want to play a little game so you all will can hear that. You go to my YouTube channel and give me a like, comment, and also subscribe to my my channel. And in a future broadcast podcast, I'll play that EVP for you. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. My email address is storiesofthedark1@gmail.com. That is storiesofthedark@gmail, or storiesofthedark1, I don't even know my own email address, @gmail.com. So, as I said, we're in this edition, we're going to be talking about haunted military bases. The first one I'm going to talk about is in Victorville, California. It's George Air Force Base, and I happen to have a lot of personal knowledge of that, having grown up in the area. I was around when it was open. I went through there many times while it was open, and when it closed in December of 1992, of course, then it pretty much just laid waste and became like a zombie apocalypse kind of. I've done a couple of paranormal investigations in there. I've also worked in the area, so I also experienced some paranormal activity at the place I was working when I was working night shift, although I didn't quite have like the means to record anything at the time, but there were several things that happened that I could not explain, and but I never really mentioned them to anybody because they probably think I was crazy anyway for working night shift during, doing security. So, but the two investigations I did capture EVPs. I had them on another recorder, and unfortunately it got stolen from me, so I didn't have those. But I would like to go back there sometime and do another investigation. It's kind of tricky though, because they've got security there now, and they're very tight on where you go, and like some of the old houses out there are pretty well. It's pretty well dilapidated and not very safe to go in. So I personally wouldn't recommend anyone going actually in the buildings if you do go out there and take a look. Especially the ones that are like 2 stories. The steps are very, very treacherous, and they might just break apart. And over the last 20 years that it's been closed, they've used it for military training exercises and whatnot. But I've got some YouTube videos that I went through and compiled for tonight's show, and the first one I want to play for you is it's from a group,
cold chills in that
and sorry about that, but I was just queuing everything up. The first one is from a gentleman. It's called SCPC Ghost Hunters. So if you want to go over, have a look at their page, and give them a subscribe and some likes, and also don't forget to subscribe and like my stuff too. That's very important. So Anyway, I'm going to play the first video, or the audio of the video. It's titled Actual Demon Face Picture at George Air Force Base. And I'll play this and I'll come back and comment on it, and then we'll take a break. And I got a couple more videos I want to share with you, plus some stories about other military bases in the around the country as well. So I'll be right back after this video.
Okay. What's your name?
Okay, what you're hearing now is what's going on in the video is basically they're just showing some pictures of the old base, but in just a few minutes the video will start, and you'll hear the guys talking.
George is the name of the general they named after the base, as we all know today as George Air Force Base. This base is so old that when the doors were opened in 1941, they didn't even have an Air Force yet. They called it the Army Air Corps. The base was known for its wide range of schools like Interceptor Squadron, Advanced Flying School, Radar Observation, Troop Carrier School, and Tactical Fighter Wing. But most importantly, they were known for their Bombardier School. If you look at all their logos, like with Donald Duck and the little slogan, Bombs Away, yeah, they pretty much trained a lot of those guys right here. As a matter of fact, back then, it was one of the very few training grounds for bombardiers. Here's a fun fact that most people don't know in the high desert. Those planes that were right there for 50 years training in that sky, they just did more than fly around in circles. We went overseas and fought a lot of wars. That's right, George Air Force Base offered a lot of air support like France, Germany, Korea, and even when punk-ass Saddam Hussein tried to get crazy in the early 90s. We also went to Vietnam in the 60s and early 70s and kicked some ass over there. That's when we brought out the real guns. Napalm death, oh yeah. In 1992, the base was permanently closed, shut down, never to be reopened. And that's sad because it's abandoned, forgotten, and just kind of lost in time. Well, there have been rumors surfacing throughout the high desert in Southern California for 20 years about its paranormal activity. And everybody wants to know, why is the base so haunted?
How come you're messing with Jimmy? You not like him?
You know, this whole ghost thing for me, being a ghost hunter, started way back. I used to work across the street from George Air Force Base at this warehouse. And me and a group of guys would walk over there on our lunch, which was 3:30 in the morning. We worked graveyard. And man, that place is so active. That's where I got all my experience from, you know. We went every night for months. And we got a lot of good orbs, a lot of good EVPs. But I'm going to share with you guys my best piece of evidence. This one time I stuck my arm in a room and snapped 2 pictures, and I got a face. It's a total demon face with red eyes. So I've got this homie I work with, and he actually grew up on the base for like 10 or 12 years or something like that. And he's going to give us a little insight, but also he's going to reveal something that kind of confirms my suspicion about why it's so haunted. And he's going to let us know a little bit about stuff I didn't even know about. I don't know when exactly, but this house right here, every time I go in there, I get this nasty feeling, and people who with me say the same thing. It's just like something's in there. Just, I don't want you here kind of a feeling. And now it's just a ghost town, man. Looks like Chernobyl from Russia. Anyways, I'm here with my buddy Dale from work. We were pretty close. Dale actually grew up on the base. So you wanna
Yeah, I moved out here about 82 and lived here about 10 years before we bought a house off the post. But yeah, this place is pretty crazy. This place used to be beautiful. Grass, trees, there was no reason to leave this base. Yeah, they tore this place up.
What kind of an environment was it? Was it like just a regular neighborhood?
Yeah, it was a regular neighborhood. We could pretty much run around and go anywhere we wanted to on this place. Except for little secluded areas where no one understood why we couldn't go out there.
What Dale was talking about was when he was a kid, they weren't allowed to go play off in the desert in certain areas. They couldn't ride their bikes. There were these secluded, gated, and sealed off areas that they were forbidden to go to. It's kind of strange, and it kind of confirms my suspicions in what I've read online. I read online that the base buried a lot of nuclear waste, radiation, and all kinds of chemicals all around the base in the desert, North Victorville. I've still met people till this day that won't drink the water. 2016, go figure. So maybe that's where a lot of the activity comes from, given its history. You know, it says online that they poisoned a lot of people. A lot of death right here at this hospital and this base. One of the reasons why people aren't here. But anyways, alright guys, check us out. We're actually on our way to the hospital. Dale's gonna give us another insight because he actually remembers the old hospital, not the one that's there now, the one back in the day, which that's what I'm curious about. So.
Yeah.
Alright, what's up guys? We're gonna hurry up and make a mad dash inside because we had to hurry up. It's during the day, like I said, security, they're kicking. So this is the back entrance to the hospital. We're gonna go in, and Dale says, tell me about the old, what do you think the old part was?
This part right here, going along the street, was the old hospital. But I remember it green, and there wasn't all this added on stuff right here. It was just an old building, and it went straight back. So it had a flat top, you know.
We're gonna try this old section because it's hard to tell where the old hospital is and the new hospital. I don't think they knocked it down.
They just built around it.
Yeah, so that motherfucker's from the 40s and the 50s. We're gonna go inside, we're gonna check it out.
Military does anything they can to save money. So they probably use the same building and just built around it.
Alright, let's get inside. There's a car coming. Oh yeah.
This might have been part of it too, because I remember all the offices.
Really?
But it was just one story. So if we go into a two-story part, that's new.
Alright, you guys remember that face I was talking about? I do believe that that face was somewhere in here. Yeah, I gotta show you. Oh, shit, look
It's on the wall.
It's like an orange glow. At this point, Dale is stopped dead in his tracks. He says he saw a shadow walk across the room as he passed this hallway. So we go over there to investigate. Where'd you see it at?
Oh, I got chills again. See that second door?
Mm-hmm.
The second door?
Yeah.
There's a room right there. I swore I saw a shadow go in there. But I didn't know if it was my flashlight or... No, that's why I turned it off.
Right here?
No, after it. Is there a room on the right?
Yep.
What is it?
Who's in here?
Right here. Got chills.
There was a definite cold spot in the area where he saw the shadow. We did an EVP and got nothing. So we moved on. to another area, and I tried another EVP session. Are there any spirits in here who want to communicate with us? Is there anyone down here that can hear my voice? Are we in the morgue? A lot of people get confused about where the morgue is.
Are there any spirits in here who want to communicate with us? Is there anyone down here that can hear my voice? Are we in the morgue?
This EVP turned up nothing, so we started to move on, and we ended up in the same spot where Dale saw the shadow before. And this time the cold chills were pretty intense, but still no EVPs. So we wrap it up and get ready for the night. We got mad cold chills right now. In this room.
Look at that. Big old tumbleweeds in the hallway.
Mad cold chills in that room. I still feel it on the right side of my arm. No EVPs though. Alright, so we're gonna come back tonight, 3 a.m. Dale, you gonna join us?
I'll think about it.
Come back at 3 a.m. Try to work on some night vision. If not, we're gonna come here pretty late, pretty early in the morning, and we're gonna do a thorough investigation with my partner Alex. And well, it's not quite 3 a.m., but you guys will like this. Cold chills on the left side of me. And that shit turned on. Want to get me real quick? We got the, I don't know if it's an SB7, but it's a spirit box. Got really cold right here. I feel a cold draft. Come up this way. Who's down here? Are any spirits over here? What is your name? Oh wow. Whoa, 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 shine a light right there, shine a light right there. Oh fuck me, I just saw like a white ball. No fucking bullshit, Rock. Scared the fuck out of me. I thought it was a dog. Dude, I'm fucking shaking, dog. Where's your flashlight? Fuck. Who's in here? I put that on everything, Rock. I just saw a white ball right here. Remember what I said, dog? Don't run out of me. Look, there's a fucking white ball about the size of a basketball.
Oh my goodness, man. Let's start going up there. Get that.
I'm shaking right now, to be honest with you.
Let's start going up.
Bad, dog. Who's in here? Alright, here's where it gets good. When I got home, I checked out some of the footage, and I was going to toss some of it, throw it away. Then I looked a little closer, and I slowed it down. After I saw that ball, me and Rock went out to the hallway to leave, and I set the REM pod on the floor. And at first I thought it was a moth, but like I said, I slowed it down, and I lightened it up a little bit. And well, you guys check it out. So we go out to the hallway, there it is, I set it down. And then if you notice right away, this thing just starts floating above the REM pod. And then right away to the left, you just see a gang of orbs just shoot in the room. I don't know what that is. I really can't explain that. It's tripping me out looking at it right now. Look at my my flashlight. It's like not even facing that direction. And, you know, it's pretty crazy, man. I can't explain it. And look to the top left, you even see like these little flashes. If you look real close where the arrow's at, these little flashes right there. Really unexplainable. So the REM pod goes off, and then all of a sudden you see this thing come back in. Hello. And it doesn't even turn on the REM pod. It doesn't even trigger it. So I can't explain that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. This one's dedicated to all the desert rats and the cool ass people I've met since I've been out here.
Subscribe.
Alright, and welcome back. I'm back with you now. That video was interesting. Again, go ahead and you can have a look at his work and subscribe to him, and you know, if you like what you see. It's SCPC Ghost Hunters. The next one I'm going to play for you after the break is from a group called AV Paranormal. Looks like just like a group of young guys, and young people. They went in the base hospital and did some EVP work and some work with flashlights, and you know. It looks pretty interesting, but you know, of course, you know, anything is possible in this field. So we all know that. So anyway, I'm gonna take a break, and we'll come back and play this video for you. I'm Glen Clark, and this is Stories of the Dark. welcome back to Stories of the Dark. I am Glen Clark, and we are talking about haunted air bases. And continuing on with the with the videos I have from YouTube about George Air Force Base. A group called AV Paranormal put this one out, as I said before the break, and they basically go through the base hospital and attempt a EVP session and other things like that. It looks pretty interesting, so go ahead and you can have a listen, and you can tell me what you think about it in your comments below. And also don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and you can also look me up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I also have as my producer and producer / girlfriend, she reminded me yesterday that I also have Tumblr and Google Plus. So yeah, you can find me on all those too. So I've got quite a few social media accounts. I'm still trying to learn all of them myself. So anyway, I'll take you to the video, and we'll come back and talk about this one.
My name is Jordan Wright. I am a paranormal investigator and amateur filmmaker. I have always believed in ghosts since I was little. My goal is to prove spirits are real and that they live among us. I am followed by my fellow investigator and cameraman, Drake Baker. Together, we travel to paranormal active locations and conduct investigations using the most orthodox scientific methods. We are seekers.
1,
We are adventurers.
2, 3.
We are AVPI, and our mission is to travel to these locations and prove by hard evidence and facts that these locations are truly haunted. Hi, we're here in San Bernardino County, California, in front of the George Air Force Base, about 8 miles from Victorville, California. The abandoned hospital and old town surrounded by the George Air Force Base has been abandoned for some time. It was built in 1941 and has been abandoned since 1992, which is approximately 20 years. This base is named after a Brigade General, Harold Houston George, which he died on April 29, 1942, and he was recognized as one of the World War I fighter aces. This base has gone through a lot of hardships and lost a lot of lives. We're here to see if their spirits still reside here, to see if this location is truly haunted. And this is our evidence. Our first piece of evidence is what we believe to be a faint sigh over our investigator's shoulder as he points out where he saw an apparition. We were recording this on a camera as we caught this.
And then. And then. And then. And then.
Our second piece of evidence is something that I caught on a personal experience as I walked over to this table in the pediatrics department. We hear a voice, but we cannot make out and totally tell what it is trying to say.
Oh, this is pediatrics.
Right after this, our spirit box said the word birth. As you can see, as I walk over to my fellow investigators, they are standing next to the birthing room where they used to keep the children in the pediatrics department.
Yep. Birth. Birth.
What?
This is where the babies were. This is where they said the kids. This is like a playroom or something.
And it said birth?
It said birth.
And directly after this, our lead investigator, Stacy Baker, had a report of a weird chill and that her hair was standing up on her arms directly after this incident.
Yeah, don't guys, my hair on my arm is standing up. This is called this is like a weird chip.
This piece of evidence is very unexplained, and we don't know how to debunk it. Or it could be just a light anomaly, but we seem to catch a shadow under these drapes as I move the camera, but it tends to move faster than I move the camera. This is unexplained, and we don't really know how to debunk this, so we're showing this just because we really don't know.
I'm cold. I'm cold.
This is one final look at the shadow. We caught this piece of evidence as me and another lead investigator, Stacy Baker, walked into this room, and you tend to hear a really quiet voice saying, "Right here." This is very quiet, and you must listen very closely. At this point in the investigation, we decided to go into the operating room, since this probably had the most activity. We then decided to set a flashlight down, as well as we have our electromagnetic pump with us, our recorder, and our spirit box, to try to help this spirit communicate with us. As you'll see in this next clip, as my fellow investigator Stacy Baker is sitting next to the flashlight, it tends to turn on by itself when nobody was touching it.
Say fever. Say theater.
Cool.
Directly after this, we start focusing our attention on the flashlight, since it was using that to communicate with us. We started asking it questions. As you will see in this next clip, as we start to ask it relevant questions, it responds by turning the flashlight on and off.
I'm going to ask you questions and you can respond. How many are here with us?
At the end of our investigation, we tend to start asking the spirit more intelligent questions as we can see how intelligent it really is. We give a command of turning on the flashlight on the count of 3. And as you will see in this clip, the flashlight turns on the command of 3. What you're about to see is real and is not manipulated or edited in any way possible. This is fully real.
Can you turn the light on for us one more time, please? We really, really like that. I'm going to count to 3 and see if you can turn that light on for us. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to count to 3 and see if you can turn that light on for us. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Now this is very unexplained, and we tried debunking this in every way possible. It could be faulty batteries, it could be a faulty light bulb, or it could just be slightly nudged by us walking around. We debunked all of this because we were all completely still as this was happening, and we tried reacting this as we got home, and we used the same batteries and the same light bulb, and we left the flashlight sitting there for about an hour and a half, and nothing happened to the flashlight, only until we came to the hospital. This concludes our investigation at the abandoned hospital at the George Air Force Base. It was a very interesting experience. We heard and saw a lot of things, although we did not catch anything behind the history of this place. I believe something paranormal still happens here, because as you walk through the hallways and the rooms of this hospital, you always are looking over your shoulder and having this eerie feeling like someone is watching you.
And we're back with you. Kind of interesting video there. I mean, you can go over and take a look at that video and tell me how you like it. It was from a group called AV Paranormal. Sounds like a local, just a bunch of guys getting together, doing paranormal investigations. And And also in the last video, I would like to apologize for the language in there. A lot of times when I'm setting up the videos for the program, I don't really screen them like I should, and sometimes language will come out. And as you know, I said in the very beginning, no bad language, but occasionally some may slip through, so I apologize in advance for that. Okay, we're gonna take another quick little break here, and then I'll come back, and then I got stories I want to read for you from haunted bases around the country. I'm Glen Clark, and this is Stories of the Dark. welcome back to Stories of the Dark. I am Glen Clark, and we are talking about haunted military bases. And I wanna read from you from a website. It's called wearethemighty.com, and it talks about, it says 11 scary ghost stories legends, and haunted military bases. The military profession can be downright scary at times, and that element has given rise to some of the best ghost stories and urban legends out there. Here are a few of the most enduring classics from around the services. Number 1, F.E. Warren's Native Tribes. Cheyenne, Wyoming is the home of F.E. Warren Air Force Base, part of United States Air Force's Global Strike Command and command of all U.S. ICBMs. But before Wyoming had the power to eradicate mankind, it had the power to eradicate Crow Creek Indians. Fort D.A. Russell was built to help protect railroad workers from the local native tribes. They were undeniably good at it, massacring many of the Crow Creek, and for the last 100 years, people reported seeing uniformed cavalry troops patrolling the base at night to keep the natives at bay. And they have a picture of looks like some old time posse people, something like that. And it continues, the fun doesn't end there. Warren is supposedly one of the most haunted places in Wyoming, maybe even America. The ghost of Gus Quarters is doomed to live on Warren Air Force Base. Legend has it a man named Gus was caught in bed with an officer's wife. To escape the angry husband, Gus jumped out of a second-story window, accidentally hanging himself on a clothesline, and becoming Jody for all eternity. Troops on the base report unexplained doors and cupboards opening and closing on their own, believing it was Gus Quarters looking for his pants after all these years. Well, if he's looking for his pants, then obviously he definitely has a problem there, and I wouldn't blame the husband being angry, because I certainly would be too. So, number 2, Kadena Air Base's Haunted House. Building 2283 on Kadena is a single-family home for field-grade officers that currently sits vacant. Not because there aren't enough officers at Kadena, but legend has it because a spectral samurai warrior that occasionally rides through the house. And they have a picture of what looks like a samurai warrior. You're welcome to go to that website and take a look at that. And continuing, other sightings at 2283 have included a woman washing her hair in the sink, a curtain opening in front of a tour group, a phone ringing despite there is not being a phone line connected to the house, and lights and faucets turning on by themselves, which would surely drive the samurai ghost father of the house insane thinking about the water bill. Residents of the house have reported blood stains on the carpet and curtains, as well as an unearthly chill in one of the rooms. The room where a real teenage girl was stabbed to death by her stepfather. Another account alleges a Marine Corps officer bludgeoned his wife in the house. And below that, they have a picture of the famous movie The Shining, where Jack Nicholson is peeking through the door that he broke down, and the here's Johnny. That's one of my favorite parts in the film, by the way. And continuing, conveniently, there is a daycare center next door, and both are across the street from a Okinawan samurai warrior's tomb. Number 3, Fort Leavenworth's dozens of haunted houses. Widely considered the most paranormally active site in the U.S. Army, Leavenworth has upward of 36 haunted buildings. One guardhouse, Tower 8 of the old disciplinary barracks that was torn down in 2004, still stands. A soldier who committed suicide with his service shotgun inside Tower 8 will sometimes call the the guard control room, maybe for an aspirin. After a prisoner uprising during World War II, guards executed one of the 14 prisoners every hour, but ran out of the room on the gallows, so they used the elevator shaft in the administration building as an extension. Now soldiers report hearing screams from the elevator when no one else is around. And it shows a picture of the Fort Military Prison Cemetery on Leavenworth, and you're welcome to take a look at that. And continuing, as novel as the idea of centuries-old haunted and abandoned prison might be for ghosts, the most haunted area is called the Rookery. The building was once a base commander's quarters, but was turned into family housing, and people still live there. The Rookery is said to house a number of ghosts. The Lady in White was supposedly tortured and killed by local tribes while the soldiers were off post. She screams and chases people she sees in the night. You don't have to chase us, lady screaming. The screaming was enough. Also in the Rookery are Major Edmund Ogden, who is presumptively in command of all the ghosts in the building, and died in 1855. A young girl named Rose, her nanny, and a young man named Robert. Rose whistles around the house while Ogden seems to just walk around all day in spurred boots. It is said that Major Ogden once asked a team of ghost hunters to leave his house. I believe if I was in an EVP, if I was asked to leave, I'd still stay there. I'd want to know why they want me to leave. So a lot of EVPs where they say, where the voice says, get out. I mean, me, I'm not going to go unless I feel threatened. I'm going to stay there and want to know why. So anyway, number 4. March Air Reserve Base's hospital turned dental clinic. What is today a dental clinic once housed a children's tuberculosis clinic, and in the basement below was a morgue. Some of the staff reported seeing apparitions of small children playing in the building at night or hiding objects. It shows a picture of 3 children on bikes. And continuing, one ghost is less than playful. A teenage girl has been reportedly seen walking around the hospital, her face sliced open, talking to herself and searching for the person who cut her. Number 5, the Cadena Chicken. An 18th wing at Cadena Sports, a yellow patch with a chicken predominantly featured with its wings in the air, seemingly surrendering. This urban legend has it that during the Korean War, the 18th Wing's pilots abandoned their crew chiefs as the base was being overrun. The maintainers were then hung with a safety wire by the enemy. The safety wire is still supposedly hanging in Osan. And it shows a little, looks like a little family crest type thing. This is a very old Air Force urban legend. Why would the Air Force keep the wire hanging? Aside from questionable decorations, a better reason not to believe this myth is that the patch has been around since 1931, when the 18th Wing was the 18th Pursuit Squadron. Number 6, Edgar Allan Poe on Fort Monroe. The famous poet died in Baltimore of a mysterious illness whose symptoms matched those of rabies. While he was alive, however, he was stationed at Monroe as an artilleryman. Other ghosts said to reside at Fort Monroe include Abraham Lincoln, Jefferson Davis, Ulysses S. Grant, and Chief Black Hawk. Abraham Lincoln gets around in his afterlife. It's good to stay active when you're 208 years old. I like that. That's actually kind of funny. Number 7, Bitburg's Middle School Ghost Nazis. The Bitburg School is run by DoD Dependent Schools Europe. Bitburg Middle School was constructed in Bitburg Air Base's housing in 1956, supposedly on the site of a Nazi air base. It's also consistently rated as one of the most haunted places in Germany, sharing that list with a pagan ritual altar in the Dachau concentration camp. And shows a picture of a little boy who looks like eating ice cream with a swastika on it. As if it weren't enough to be full of ghosts, they are also Nazi ghosts, which is way more frightening. Lights constantly flash on and off throughout the night. Windows move on their own, and oh yeah, people are heard screaming at the top of their lungs throughout the building, only at night. Number 8, the USS Hornet's 50-member ghost crew. The Hornet is the most haunted ship in the Navy. In 27 years, the ship lost 300 of her men to accidents and suicides. Tourists and sailors alike report strange voices and apparitions of sailors in outdated uniforms, roaming the halls of the ship. Radios and other equipment on the vessel are said to turn off and on their own, and it shows a picture of servicemen aboard the USS Hornet dated April 1942. If any reader is interested in seeing the ghost crew of the Hornet, you can now pay to sleep aboard the World War II era ship was decommissioned in 1970. Now moored in San Francisco, people can tour its most paranormally active areas. Number 9, Kadena. Yes, again, ghostly gate guards. The old Gate 3 at Kadena is said to be frequented by a World War II era soldier covered in blood, asking for a light for his cigarette. The gate was eventually closed, and a new one is being built in its place, which is crazy because he could easily solve a manpower issue. Would you approach a gate manned by ghosts? Me neither. That's according to the website. Now I would, and there's also there's a YouTube video on here that you take a look at. It's titled "Ghost at Okinawa Kadena Air Base, Japan," and I'm assuming it's going to be of that particular guardhouse that I talked about. And continuing, he might be looking for any number of Japanese soldiers who were once said to approach the gate in the 1990s. They approached so many times, it was recorded in the 2000 book Ghost of Okinawa. The gate was closed because I can only assume it's terrifying. Number 10, Guantanamo Bay's Eternal Officers Club. The Bayview complex at Gitmo was originally built in 1943 as the Base Officers Club. Now there are 4 spirits who are there for eternity to occupy the upstairs Terrence room. A woman in white is an old woman with long hair and with a long white dress. She sits in a chair and looks out into the parking lot. She also switches lights on and off when no one is in the club. It is said the woman lived in an apartment in the club until she was found dead in a bathtub there. And it shows a picture of the like the ocean and like a miniature restaurant bar type thing. Continuing on, she has a decent view though. The wives of the base commanders have also reported a man in khakis walking from the living room of the CO's residence to the bathroom. In 2007, Paula Leary, who was in the house at the time, said she believed the ghost just wanted to know there was someone else in the house. The area where the house stands was the site of Marine camps from 1901 until 1920. So it may not just be any khaki chief walking around, but a salty old Marine. Number 11, Helmand Province's cursed Russian graveyard. And my internet's a little bit slow, so it's hard scrolling up the page. The 2/8 Marines in Helmand report figures speaking Russian at Observation Point Rock. They found the graves at the site, a place in Hellman considered cursed by the locals because of the unending amount of bones that that are constantly dug up there. And it shows a picture of, looks like some archaeologists or some marine guys, or actually what it is, continuing on. The Marines' story is now an episode of sci-fi's Paranormal Witness. The rock, as it has came to be known, was the reported site of Afghan Mujahideen, and I may be pronouncing that wrong, I know, executing Russian soldiers during the Russian occupation. Because of the bones and the strange sightings, it soon became known as the Haunted OP. But it just wasn't the Marines seeing or hearing things. The UK's Welsh Guards, who came to the OP before the Marines, reported strange noises and unexplainable lights in their night vision. A rundown of the rumors. The ghost of an airman's suicide from the 1970s haunts a Rapcon. Occasionally, crying is heard by airmen and never civilians. A United States Air Force Security Forces airman at Ramstein Air Base locked himself in the closet and committed suicide. Now his ghost locks unsuspecting airmen in their closets. Warren Air Force Base's ICBM Museum also houses a ghost named Jeffrey. United States military bases have golf courses so they can be used as mass graves in the event of high casualties. I did not know that. And I have a family history of military, so this one is new to me. The clinic at Spanglehelm Air Base houses a ghost named Eric. And it just says at the bottom, listen to our veteran host discuss haunted air bases and urban legends in the United States military. Again, you're welcome to take a look at this website, and I'll have a link for it at the bottom of this video so you can click on it. It's called wearethemighty.com. That is wearethemighty.com. And that brings us to the end of another edition of Stories of the Dark. Once again, I thank you all for listening, and you can follow me at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, also Tumblr, Google+, and soon I'll have Skype. Thank you for joining me tonight, and I'll see you on our next edition. Until then, be safe, and if you do go out and do paranormal investigating, make sure, like I've said before, you ask permission, so that way everybody knows what you're doing and everything's on the up and up. I'm Glen Clark, and this has been Stories of the Dark. Have a good night, everyone. And my closing music don't want to start. I don't know why either. So here we go. Good night, everyone.